call this finance meeting to order on the 15th of March at 7:14. And we have a lot on the agenda tonight. So Taylor, I guess we'll start with your stuff since you sent it all out.
Okay, no storytelling. Let's get
No
the meat and potatoes of it.
Yeah,
I will say, I think Scott sent this. Wait, did you send ARP stuff to him? The new monies?
I didn't see anything from ARP.
ARP.
Why they don't know about it? The
Okay.
1.01 million. I
So-
sent it to all of them.
So since
yes, you did. The
since
1.1. Yeah.
Since we started developing the agenda for this, the passage of the American Rescue Plan gives us need for a new fund, and basically Scott and I will start getting ready to go on day one. The money should be here in less than 30 days. Sounds like everyone's moving quick to start moving these things. Half of the money will come within those 30 days. The other half will come in 12 months. That way it gives us time to give cities time to strategically plan how to use this large
And
amount.
what is this for again?
The stimulus, the COVID relief bill.
Okay.
So Nelsonville should expect around $1 million if the National Association of Counties estimate was correct.
1.01.
Yep. It does have some strings attached, so this is not free pass, but it is better than the CARES Act as far as restrictions, so that'll be nice for a lot of reasons. So I just wanted to call it I don't know if we should just call it the COVID Relief Fund or ARP Fund, but we call it the CARES Act Fund. Are you guys okay with me just bringing forward legislation to create?
We already have the same fund.
No, this is new.
It's going to be
a new
different
bucket.
money.
It's a new bucket, so we actually should. I would call it the same thing as what they're calling it, so the CARES Relief Act. I think is what I would.
Yeah, the first one was called CARES. This one's called the American Rescue Plan.
Yeah, that's what I think. That way we can just make a distinction between the two.
Yep. There's probably a way to account for it within the same fund, but it's cleaner to keep them separate.
Said we'll get half of it.
Half of it within 30 days of
And then about
passage.
12 months later, we'll get.
Yes, that's what the text of the law says. I mean, if they send it sooner, that'd be great. So,
The two biggest changes in it, if I can, is they've opened it up to allow us to use that money for infrastructure such as water and sewer. And then also there's a way, it'll be on his side of the house to make up for lost revenues, but there hasn't been solid guidance on that yet to even see how we would do that.
an example might be, taking all the businesses that were shut down for 4 months last year, averaging out the income tax from each business, and then saying, we lost this much revenue from these businesses, and that we're going to use, let's say it was 40,000, we'd use 40,000 to replace that revenue. Another example might be Hocking College being all remote, so averaging their loss we've taken on their water bills for the whole year and replacing that money. I'm not saying we have to, I'm just saying those are
But
options.
we're allowed to do that?
Yep. So they haven't set guidance on how those formulas need to look, but they will be soon. I mean, they've got to do it before the money gets here. So, on the CARES Act, I know Scott presented a pretty airtight plan on basically, what the city needs and what we can spend it on, and then we kept the appropriation pretty open. So, unless you guys have objections, we'll just bring a similar, maybe the same ordinance forward to just set the fund, and Scott can work up operations what they need and present it to you guys as soon as we know.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with setting up the fund because I want to be able to have a place to house that money as soon as we get it. So I would say, yeah, let's bring that forward to the next meeting.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Carla?
Yes.
And we have some ideas if you're interested, or we could hold off till the money gets here and talk then. It doesn't matter either way.
City jail?
I don't know if that falls into it. If it does, then that's what you want to do. You guys make that call. But I do know that we're looking at an insertion valve machine. So the value of that is the water leak that we had the other night when we lost all the water. Having an insertion valve machine, we would have been able to stop that water. Currently, we contract to have it done. And for example, we put 2 of them in, and since that leak, and one was 14,000, and I think the other one's going to be right around 9,000. So having that, we'll be able to do it ourselves. It won't be significantly cheaper, but it'll be readily available. So if we have a major leak, we can address it right there on the spot.
So what do we lose money-wise in water? Have you put a number to that yet?
So you mean tracking water loss?
Yeah, tracking the water loss we lost just in that one leak, because we pretty much emptied the tanks, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So we can absolutely track that. I don't think do we have the numbers.
We don't.
I have to check with Trawl to see if he's got because he provides the numbers produced and then he has the numbers sold and then we go from there. And hopefully that's one of the grading criteria you guys give me for the year. I know it's a personal goal of mine to reduce water loss significantly. So
I would like to see that number if you could come up with. I mean ballpark, obviously, but I mean
Yeah.
I'd like to just see that.
absolutely.
Might be mind blowing, but
We actually did pretty good last year by buttoning up a couple leaks that have been leaking for years. We got it down a little bit, but now we're taking another hit. So with that big leak the other day.
so I guess since you kind of opened the door a little bit there, what you have some ideas for infrastructure?
So so that would be the first one. The insertion valve I think is the most critical thing. Luckily we just hired a guy that knows how to do them, so we've got the experience in-house. That would be the first order of business. The next one would be expansion even further of the police fleet, so they would be staggered out now. So it'd be 2 more cruisers for 100,000, and then 8 rifles, 1,000 apiece, so 108,000 for that. The valve machine with valves is right around 130,000
Seems like a lot. Is it something we would use that much?
all the time. So we've already had 3 of them put in this year, and at a significant expense. So
So you said one we put in was 14,000.
that was
Was that the valve itself, or was that actually the contract to have the insertion machine and do the valve?
So the way it works is we dig the hole for the guy, and because we work with him a lot, we dig it, get the pipe ready, prepped, and everything else. He literally comes in with his machine and puts it on there. I know now the cost of the valves. He makes maybe $1,000 off of us. So per valve, roughly. That's a rough guess. So more importantly than the money is to have this available because all the valves are part of an asset management plan tied back to the water system. And 3 or 4 years ago, you guys hired IBI to come in and do a study. And they came in and they provided that, and we have a good base. However, in there, most of our valves are damaged or broken status, which is a very similar problem that happened up in Logan and a few years back when the EPA went in. So in fact, I'm actually waiting on them to come back after this leak and ask them what our action plan is to fix it. So we've been moving very rapidly to get valves in place to show that we took it very serious and put valves in there. What this machine will do is allow us to do that actually at the heat of the moment, but also we can start getting ahead and putting these valves in where we have broken valves. The benefit to these over a traditional valve is you don't have to shut the water off. So it's actually putting the clamp and shut-off valve on a live line. So there's no break, there's no contamination, there's no loss of pressure, none of the bad stuff.
No boil order.
No boil order, correct.
So I guess that's what, it's gonna be important to see what our water loss was to, because we could have prevented, if we'd had that machine, we could have prevented a lot of water loss.
Absolutely, and I'll be honest with you, it happens all the time. So I don't want to get too crazy, but if that happened on Walnut Street right now, we'd be in a similar boat. Now we know that, and part of the grant that's happening this summer, it's going to get addressed. But we have several places in town just like that where we have no way to shut the water off and isolate a leak throughout the city. So,
Not good.
no man.
But our guys would have to stand down there stepping on the hole while they're trying to put a clamp on it.
Yes. Yes.
Crazy.
So the softwares that Taylor's going to talk about, they would all qualify for these funds as far as the initial startup goes. So they could all be rolled up under here. And I don't know if you have those numbers on you, but that would get us going. And then of course the speaker for in here, so everybody at home can hear us, which that's going to be about $3,000 to get a noise canceling one. And let's see, we put a drilling machine on there, it's 160,000 for, but the insertion valve's a higher priority than the drilling machine.
Drilling or boring?
Boring.
Core boring. So it's directional boring. You can chase, up to a 6-inch line. So at that one on Fourth Street, or not, Fourth Street, Jefferson, yeah,
Yeah, we actually have a requirement now. The water line's on the Tri-County side of 691 and the customer's on the opposite side. So we don't have the authority just to go in and dig up ODOT's road and put a trench across there. So we're actually having companies come in and give us bids to run a water service under, because we're responsible to provide that. And that's really the only option.
well, no, that was, we have these breaks around town and replacing pipes. You know, as long as we don't get into a 10-inch or an 8-inch, we can run 4 or 6-inch, 300 feet, put a valve.
Yep.
And before you know it, you're done with the infrastructure. Because these steel pipes are just rot.
So we're pushing 400,000 already though, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you ever include that drilling, the boring machine, yeah.
I know Harry's putting together some numbers to get the ambulance up to BLS level. So I don't have those quotes yet, but he is working with those numbers. And then I'll turn it over to Taylor, who has the software numbers.
Yeah, well, so you guys should have seen your email Sunday. So the big picture, well, let me start with the easy one. The easy one's American Legal Publishing. This would bring all of our code, minutes, ordinances, anything you guys wanted city related onto an easily searchable landing page on the website. They would do a full review of our entire code, all of our ordinances. They would continue adding ordinances as you guys pass them. If you guys have been to the city of Logan, I think I might have said to check out City of Logan. You can basically just say trash, and it will give you every ordinance related to trash, every code related to trash, and then you can kind of pick and choose what you want to read, and then source it. So you're going to read text, readable, legible text, not handwriting or anything that our old documents have, and then it'll source it and say, okay, I see the code, but what makes the code this? And it'll show you all the original ordinances. It's a super convenient tool. One of the things that would be really nice is when we, this is not a joke, when we are looking for example legislation to bring forward, we will go to cities like Logan and then type in water regulations. It'll bring us all of theirs. You don't have to search at all. But unfortunately, even with the ordinances in our own building, if you don't really know what ordinance, year, month you're looking for, it's almost useless. It's just sitting there on paper. So this company is actually, they've been wanting to do this for us for a long time. I guess they've been reaching out for a while, and the city hadn't shown a lot of interest, or maybe they were laying in the wrong inbox. So this was a $13,000 initial setup. The actual software, the actual landing page is the cheap part. The more expensive part is the hand review of all of our ordinances to ensure compliance with state law. So that would be the recodification that council was expecting last year, but is now expecting to get this year.
And how much is that?
It was a $13,000 initially, with a $500 yearly. That would just maintain the
I meant the
website.
legal review.
That's
That
included
is
in
it.
that.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's the full thing.
And Ariel's wanting how much?
15.
They do want to work with us. I asked them, they gave us a price. I asked them, I said, what can you do better than that? They came in with a price $2,500 lesser by not changing our product, which I appreciate. Anytime, I kind of use it as a litmus test when we're trying to work with a vendor, and I say, what can you do better? And they immediately, have an idea. It not only tells me they have a plan A, B, and C, but they're actually invested in getting it done. And they're professionals, basically. So I appreciated that. I know I'm really excited about it. Scott could probably speak to how much he needs it. He asked me more than once a week probably for the code or the ordinance that I might have voted on in 2017, and I have to go off memory and go to my council emails to go find some ordinance, and then we're searching in paper. And it would really be nice to just well, not just for us, but for the residents, right? If they say, I don't believe you on the trash code, you can just say, just go type trash into the city website and there'll be
Public records request.
every ordinance you ever needed for
So how
trash.
long would that take to get clear back 20 years or whatever, to get everything in
so,
there?
so when I wrote this, I was home, but I went off memory and I was pretty sure they said 6 months delivery if agreement was signed today. And the full payment's not required till it's done. I think they said maybe 40%, 40% at completion and 20% at flip turn on, which we could pay all at once if we wanted to, I'm sure. But I just mean to say they don't take our money until it's finished. And they would come back if we had, I called it blind spots. That's just what he said on the phone. If we have blind spots, if we have code that says, an example was a couple years ago, the State House made a really big deal about gun regulations in cities. And if we had left our ordinance in place, we'd have a serious legal liability. Any blind spots like that, they would come back and have all the suggested ordinances for us saying, these are the stuff you should probably update this year as part of the package.
And that one's only ongoing $500 a year?
Yep. There's a lot of add-ons if we wanted this or that. Council members could receive mailed paper copies of all their stuff and ordinances, and there was like all these things you could ever want was in here.
No one but Carla.
But that was the basic, not the yearly cost that was what it cost to maintain.
If I could just jump on the beauty of being able for the citizens to go find this stuff would be amazing. I don't think an ordinance or minutes or anything has been put on the website since 2016 or 17. It's one of the two. And this would definitely bring us up. And what they say within 2 or 3 days after an ordinance is put in place, the entire code and everything is updated.
I thought we had to have this on there.
Unfortunately, no. It's not all online. We have to go to paper all the time, and then we have to, so the code is only updated to 2015, so you have to take the code to 15, and then you have to go find all the ordinances that pertain to it and build it. And that's every time you have a question. And so what ends up happening is if you can think of like code enforcement, if there's a question about code enforcement, we basically, that sheet that we don't have memorized, like if it's some, minuscule random question, you have to do that. You have to take the code and then build backwards with the ordinances council's passed since. And I only consider myself fortunate that like Scott has an in-house former council member because we end up I'm saying I think I voted on something in 17, 19, and right before like I left council. And then we have to go find the ordinances that way.
Because if not, I just go back to 2015 and just start thumbing. At least it gives me a year.
Sarah sit down.
A little bit.
Yeah. So that would be a pretty no-brainer as far as it could be part of COVID monies because it would make everything available online and nobody have to.
And then this would be just a link on our website, right? Mm-hmm. So on the city website, then people would be able to just go, under code and then just click ordinances and then it would just pull that up. Now, does that take you to a different website or does it just look like it's actually on our website when you do that?
It takes you to a pretty smooth looking other website and it looks like it almost looks like an ebook almost in the sense that you'll see your tabs over to the side and it'll say parts of the code or the ordinances, like it'll say 19, 18, 17. Click it in, it'll open and say, I want March of 18's ordinances, and then it'll bring you the list.
Now, no one's able to write in that, correct?
Right.
So they can just add to the ordinance?
Yeah, it's read only, yeah.
Yep. And
Scan copies will be in there, right?
I thought that's what he said. I thought he said that
Actually,
when
be able to look at it.
Yep, if you don't understand what builds this part of the law, then it'll say sources, and it'll take you to the original that built that part of the. So City of Logan's a good example. I think there's a lot of cities that use it.
Athens, Logan,
Athens,
Lancaster. Because we use it again when we propose ordinances to you guys for different rules. That's all we do is go look at others for suggestions. If we don't copy and paste.
Make this simple then, so it's $2,000 cheaper. And
Yes.
it'll be done within 6 months and then it'd be a $500 a year maintenance fee, and that's just updating all of our ordinances as they go.
We could also, if we wanted to save money in other ways, they'll provide a legal review for a little bit more. So,
So did you say they will put them in like they won't put them in at the end of the year, they'll put the new ones in as they come?
As we submit them. So if we had if obviously the clerk either had the time or remembered basically to submit all of the weeks, we could have them that week. If it was, if council said to her, you have to submit them once a month, then she'd, submit a monthly or however you guys want to do it. He said weekly was quick, so if it's only 5 or 6 ordinances, he can do it within a couple of days with he just sends it over to their actual attorneys. They're not just, he made some joke. He's like, he said some studies might think that there's just some, minimum wage worker reading them, but they have attorneys on file, or on staff to read the file.
So, question I have, and should an ordinance or resolution, well, resolution would be different, but should an ordinance, because an ordinance has to be read twice, and then sit for 30 days unless it's under suspension. So would that one wait to be uploaded until after the 30 days when it actually is enacted?
you guys would make that determination.
I guess it
So,
depends on what he said.
whatever you tell the clerk, so
I'm gonna guess you can put an effective date when you tell them. So you can say, this is, March, 15th ordinances, but these are all effective April 15th. Okay. And I'm gonna guess they can probably upload that information. Okay.
I'd probably just wait till the
Yeah,
30
or
days
wait, it really don't matter. Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, I was just trying to figure that out. So I would say, yeah, maybe have it uploaded when it's actually enacted.
Right, yeah. No confusion.
So that would just be appropriated out of COVID monies as they came, but what you guys could do in the meantime is authorize the agreement for Scott. That way they could start. Or we could bring the legislation forward to read it so that it can start getting its 2 reads in. Is that something you guys are okay with?
I am.
I'm okay taking it to council.
Yeah, okay. I don't think it's an emergency, so we can just have it start, unless you guys disagree.
Yeah,
Okay.
Get the process started.
As we discuss some of these other items, are any of them under emergency, or if we agree to others, would we be able to put them in the same?
For the whole meeting,
Would we have to put them in a separate appropriations then? That's what I guess I'm getting to.
I think
Like,
it all-
he's got other softwares on here that we were in email.
yeah, that would all have to be, the appropriation parts would have to be, when the money gets here.
So that one there would be just an authorization of the city manager to enter into a contract with.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
that
that's
one
it.
is- oh,
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
anything over 5,000, I need
You guys just thinking, pretty face here.
Oh, wait.
Usually, yeah. City man,
That's
I
why
don't
he's sitting
know.
next to you.
I haven't seen their contract, so I don't know if they require my signature. Usually the contractors require the auditor to vouch that the city will pay, basically. I guess I haven't seen that actual contract itself, but I've seen the quote. So I'll get through, I guess we'll just plow through the more detailed ones. These other softwares, the big picture idea is to bring a whole bunch of processes that are scattered amongst other companies, meaning software or paper and word of mouth, and bring it all under one umbrella, which would be VIP. VIP is currently the accounting software we use, but it's more multifaceted than just accounting if you buy into the product. The first one is moving purchasing online. Currently, purchasing is mostly done over paper and word of mouth. Terrible, which is extremely challenging. I almost should have made Judy stay just to talk about it.
If you want to know, I can give you a quick A to Z how the process works. But it's pretty bad.
The current system? You want to know about the current system?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I can imagine.
It's challenging.
painful for all.
I
I
can
think the
imagine.
PDF that we use for purchase requests, I think the timestamp, if I remember right, says 2006, and I think that's about as old as the process. And, it's just I was a freshman in high school for comparison, so it's a challenge. This would bring purchasing onto VIP. The nice thing is that when a supervisor requests a purchase, this is the advantage. Instead of paper shuffling and data entry and a lot of sitting at a lot of paper shuffling and searching, and then Judy sitting at a computer. What'll happen is, I'm just going to pick on Chief Fitch. Chief Fitch says I need $500 for something, a chair or something, 2 chairs, and he's going to go into the software himself with his own login. He's going to request it, enter the information, attach the quote from the vendor, just typically some office supply store, and then it's going to go directly to Scott, and Scott's dashboard on the on that software, which will all be logged into, will say you have a purchase request. Scott will review it and say I approve this purchase as proper for the city, and it's going to come to me, and it's going to say, is there money in the line items the chief picked? And I'm going to say yes or no, and that it was done ethically, properly, the things my job's for. And then go to Judy, essentially. I'm simplifying some of this, but it goes to Judy, and what's nice is when this is all taking place in there, the books are already marked. And what I mean is that if the purchase is approved and then it's marked as purchased, the books are going to mark as encumber this money for this purchase. And it's going to be attached to the purchase order, to the request, and to all the things we did to it. We may have adjusted it. Scott may have approved 300 instead of 500, for example. And nobody left their computer, and we could do this all in like 10 minutes, which would be beautiful. And then, of course, when you guys get expense reports and auditors reports, instead of Judy having to sit there personally typing in paper purchase orders to encumber money to show you guys how much we spent, it'll already be done. And so Judy can work on chasing down purchase requests that might be old, or invoices that haven't been turned in, or basically just getting more work done. So that's kind of like the why of it. The setup, as I understood Grant, he actually was on site to come and talk to us about this with Scott and I, would be less than 90 days for this part. It does have an initial quote of $8,000. I personally believe that in the same way that we'll do with American Legal Publishing, if we say, can you do us a better offer than that, we may get something better. And go from there. So that's called VIP workflows. Moved point 2 on my email, moving all software to the cloud, setting up employee portal as a break even for the city. $1,800 comes off our yearly agreement, and $1,800 is added on, so we break even. Currently our purchasing and the books are all stored on site on a server. So if a flood hits this building, it's a little risky, and we could conceivably, it's actually against, we've been dinged on it on our state audit for not having an emergency plan for our books. And that's what I believe this will address it, is by bringing everything to the cloud so it can be accessed from anything, including sitting in this room. I could conceivably get you guys logins to view the reports yourself, so you could see data reports from our finances at any moment you guys wanted to. That one could be a pretty quick setup as well.
That it also enables our bug out plan and allows everybody to work remotely, especially back on the work order side that he's going to talk about in a minute for our workers out in the field. They'll actually be able to do the work order right there on the spot and close it out. Instead of a piece of paper that gets printed, sat here, somebody comes and gets it, then they get handed out, and sometimes they get done, or sometimes they blow out the window. Not really, but and I don't know how much that will cost. Sorry, I took your...
No, that's okay. The next one is part of 2 things. It's utility billing and work orders. As I understood it, as you can tell, there's a lot of information, and I was writing from home on Sunday, so in case I said anything wrong, I understood it as VIP utility billing. This would bring our current process under the books again. The biggest benefit for me, I think I mentioned this in my email, VIP works super great for me. Everybody else is on other system. That's really bad for them. And kudos to whichever auditor brought us to VIP. I think that was a good move, but I think it's time to just get everything under there. So when somebody pays their utility bill, instead of a series of transactions and reports and verifications that happen between the 2 softwares, it would mark the books in that software. So we would be processing those transactions in VIP, which would mark the water fund as somebody paid their $100 water bill, and I would just verify the reports versus the drawer. Instead of it's about an hour-long verification process between the 2 softwares before close, which I don't mind doing. I've added those processes, but it seems like we could do better too. So that's my side of it. Makes it easier for my staff. The bigger part is it would take most of our utility billing. Yes, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you were holding your hand out.
No, I do have a question, but I was trying to let you finish there, so.
Oh, the work orders is the big one. So the work orders will be directly in there. They won't be paper-based. They'll be mobile. So if Jason is out on a leak and we have a work order for, somebody says they've lost pressure in Bookville, he can just pull up his phone and view the information, the account, any notes the account had. And one of the things I really like about this is what I dislike about the paper process is our guys go to addresses and handle residents with little to no information unless they have the personal experience. Whereas if this is all mobile, the whole utility billing software, they will be able to pull up the notes right on the account and see this person has had a rough go for like 3 months, water loss, busted pipe, the bill was higher than they expected. They realized they forgot to pay for the abatement, just all these things that was hard for them. And that person now knows to go with an enhanced customer service, when they're going there just to be ready. And when that person says to them at the house, well, I've already had so many problems, that you probably already know about. Now our guys can say, yeah, I was just reading about that, instead of saying, I have no idea what you're talking about. Right. Which unfortunately, they don't say it like that. Sure. But we do put them in the position now where they go in with no information, except for what we can put on paper, which, as you can imagine, with up to what's the busiest work order days, maybe 50. I mean, we send a lot. When we're doing that many, that's just one part of Robert's and Cindy's job. We're not putting the whole account on a piece of paper for them.
Yeah, the only trends that they have is what goes from memory versus what the data says.
Okay. 2 questions then. I have one. No, I have 2. So when you mentioned when a citizen pays their water bill and it automatically updates the fund, will it update both the water and the sewer side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it recognizes the split and will.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll, okay.
We just have to teach it to do that once the utility module is unlocked, basically.
Okay, perfect. And then the other thing that I thought of, would this enable, I'm assuming, I don't know the answer, that's why I'm asking. So I'm guessing, hey, we got a call, we have an issue at such and such address, Chestnut Street. I'm assuming the guys have to go out and maybe investigate a little bit, determine what materials or what equipment they may need. Maybe they take some automatically, but then would this enable them to know more about what they actually need? Like if Jason goes out, he can put that out, and those guys know exactly what to bring. So maybe save some time from running back and forth. That saves time and gas and all kinds of stuff on equipment, but.
I don't know if I still know exactly where you're going. You want to get into predictive analytics, and I think that's great. I think we're going to have quite a bit of in-house teaching before we get to that level. And the other piece is I don't know, unless you know, that software will do that.
It's possible.
Okay.
Project management and asset management. Okay. That along those same lines, I'm going to think about it in the reverse way. But one of the nice things, if we can get under the same umbrella, is the guys will be able to input exactly into the system so we can call it a project. So like that Jefferson break, we're going to call it I think it was this month, right, March. So we might call it, me and Judy and I might open up a project and attach a work order when we came in that night when the whole city lost water, and we're going to say Jefferson water loss project. And we're going to start attaching the work orders that go to that so we can know everything that happened under here. But then on the backside, the guys on Monday morning, or Jason, whoever's responsible, should be able to attach to it materials used. So we used this, we did that, we attached this much overtime. And so when I go to process payroll the next week, as well as process those purchases to replace those items, we can all attach it to this is how much the Jefferson water loss project is what they're called in the software, water loss event cost the city. And I think that it's kind of the backside of what you're asking, but I'm going to assume that the more we learn about it, the more we can do exactly like you said. But we just can't do it now because they can't access it mobilely, and we don't have our work orders into an electronic-based work order.
will it generate an invoice?
Will the
Think that's
system?
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, we had on Madison and Washington, a hydrant got smashed by a semi. That's probably gonna be about a $25,000 event because we need an insertion valve that's $14,000 right at the end of Washington Street before we can even start on it. And then maybe another valve, maybe not, and then a new hydrant, and then whatever damage was done to the line down to the ground.
Was that this morning?
This is last week.
Oh, okay. Cause I saw a semi come down off
Yeah, it's laying flat. If you
Madison today.
go here by Go Mart on that Madison, take a left. Oh, sorry, Adams, and then right there at Washington, it'll be right there on your left-hand side. Dead in the door now.
Was it one of our newer ones too?
Nope, it was an older one. Thank goodness. I was like, yes.
That's a good question.
It didn't have a steamer on it.
This one, I'll just finish with, this one is the biggest upgrade, is probably the most useful upgrade. They're all extremely useful, but this one is certainly the Mount Everest. They told me it could be anywhere up to 12 months to transition, but that most of that time was based on us. They said they'll tell us if they develop a work backlog, but what they're finding with cities that are in counties, they work with a lot of counties as well that are transitioning, is that they're sending the list of things they need to the city or county, and then they're hearing back 45 days later. And they said, obviously, those types of things are going to slow them down. If you can't get all the accounts from the city, you can't set the system up with all the accounts, for example. Then, they, of course, on the back end, the training of the staff. They're not going to let us flip the switch until they feel confident. So training the staff. Now, I actually feel more confident because Judy and I love VIP, so we can kind of be in-house trainers. We know how to really use the system is very intuitive. And I call them buckets. They work with buckets, and I feel like all we need to do is just teach them these new utility and work order buckets. And also Robert and Cindy are very ready for a different software. The pace of change that I've asked of them and that Scott has asked of the whole utilities department has shown the current system's age. And we wouldn't be bringing this forward unless a whole bunch of folks were ready to take on the task. So
It'll bring us up to 2021 versus 1995.
Right.
So, but you think potentially though that we could probably do it in about 6 months, you think?
I think so. If we don't get half in and they say, you know, we have this crush of customers, which honestly is one of the reasons why I kind of want to move fast is because all this COVID money is going to be hitting the whole nation. And this company serves Ohio for the most part, some of Kentucky and Indiana. And we're going to be competing for their time soon. And I would rather let them know, you know, we're ready. We want to learn this. Put us at the top of your list. I think we could do 6 months. Yeah.
How much is this?
This one is 14 on setup. And then I put 1 to 2 yearly fee just because I didn't have the document in front of me. Of course, our current software has a yearly fee, so I don't know what.
Is the yearly fee comparable to what their yearly fee will be, or?
The one we have now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we read
Because
it.
we're going to cancel some of the antiquated stuff.
So if we're gonna upgrade, then, you know, the fee's gonna be about the same.
I hope
The
so.
new versus the old.
Yeah, it's certainly, we're going to drop off some expenses and then pick up, obviously, these ones. This one, I feel less confident they'll move on because I know for a fact they're charging some cities twice that to migrate. So I'm not going to overpromise to you guys and say they're going to come down on this one because I don't think so. I've seen other cities.
Too high for them right now, probably.
Yeah, I've seen other cities saying 30,000 to switch to VIP utility billing, and we're under half that. So I'm feeling pretty confident that's our rate.
So I guess my only concern would be the yearly fees, is I know you gave us for some of the larger ones, and I mean, this is kind of off subject just a little bit. Are you keeping somewhere a running tab of like our yearly fees? If maybe we could get that
Licensing fees.
well, not just that, like all of our payments that are going to be around for years, not something that'll be paid off next year, but like ongoing. that we can't just keep saying, well, we'll get this, it's only 5,000, this is only 10,000, and then you get up to 30, 40, and you don't realize how much you've actually got coming out each year.
Right, right, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question. I can definitely track subscription fees for you guys easily across the city, and give you a report on that at any time. If my honest take is that this is pretty small compared to some of the other things we're adding, across the city, but absolutely, I think the copier cost, you should even include yearly fees to the state auditors for our yearly audit. I mean, all of these things are yearly fixed costs that the city has. I could definitely,
There's
track
no
that
big
for you.
rush, but I would like to
Yeah.
have an idea.
Yeah.
Okay, get started on that copier stuff.
I wanted to, I don't even pretend I didn't even say it.
Yeah, too late.
So, one question I would have is what questions you guys had, and then, sorry, I'm just reading through my email again. B, if it was appropriate to ask for authorization to start moving on these.
I guess is that COVID money guaranteed? This would be coming out of COVID money, correct?
I mean, we wouldn't make the purchase, but really what we need from you is permission to enter the contract.
So we can get the process started.
Right,
and we
so
won't
that's
pay yet.
what we're really asking, and then, of course, no purchase would be made until the money arrives.
So we're not committed.
Well, yeah, we would be.
Well, you would be committed to,
Because we're authorized to enter into a
And
contract.
then if the money doesn't.
Well,
Well,
but
But then
I
we
wouldn't,
just take it
I
out of
can't,
salary.
I can't do the purchase until the money comes. So what I'm saying, if the money comes in 2 weeks from now, by then, that'll be the second reading of going into the contract. So 30 days after that, we'll actually be able to move into the contract. So I can't purchase anything until the money's arrived.
I would just say that often in finance, Corey probably back me up, if the feds aren't good for the money, then we have bigger issues than money. We
Well, I
have,
just
we have
didn't
end of the
know-
world
I didn't know
issues.
how guaranteed the whole breakdown of it was, is what that's what I was getting
Yeah,
at.
well, I mean, that's a good question. The National Association of Counties has no liability if they had the number wrong.
Right.
Our increase in funds is comparable to other cities. Athens' increase was almost 3 times, and ours is 3 times larger than CARES Act. The counties was like 4 times. Counties make out like this got a very good deal from this bill.
They got 12 million to expand your jail.
But I would say the OML, the Municipal League sent out the
Poking
link
that
as well.
bear.
And the OML is just about as good for the money as the state feds, so everyone feels quite confident in the current estimations. Because the formula is laid out in the bill and you basically calculate it off the CBDG population calculation. So the same way we can estimate what grants we get, we can estimate how much from this bill we would get.
yeah, 'cause that's what they use in the calculation, wasn't it?
Mhm.
That's what I thought.
CBDG population estimates, yeah. And some other little funky stuff that Michael Betts could probably explain to us.
I think we can start the legislation on it.
I'm okay with moving forward.
Alright.
No, I am. I'm just, a little leery of signing, yes, we'll go ahead, and then no
We'll just take
money
it out,
comes.
we'll just take it out of Scott and Taylor's.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
I
I'm
can't-
okay with that.
Garnish wages for a while.
You guys heard that, right?
My minutes are gonna reflect something.
But we got that.
I heard Scott's name.
This one,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Do you got anything else, or you're?
That's it on the software.
Oh my God, that's enough, isn't it?
There's more.
No, go ahead.
You want to keep going?
Wait, Todd, did you get it all? BFT, and, okay, you got it all.
Thanks.
And then, so an easy one probably, unless you were gonna talk salary.
I was gonna talk
Non-union.
Jason's,
Okay.
non-union. Well, you can talk all of them.
Okay. So
Oh, yeah.
non-union salaries, I have a point here. This was only brought forward because honestly, I remembered on council often acted shortly after labor legislation, so I brought it for discussion. Council authorized 2% increases for union employees. Historically, they have matched it with non-union folks, which would right now be, well, actually with this agreement, I think code becomes union. So deputy auditor, police clerk. I think that's it.
Bill, Jason. Oh, their salary. Yeah, Bill.
Phil's salary, right?
Mhm.
Unless you guys are doing, Are you guys doing department heads too? I'm sorry, is it everybody, or, I just put those two on here, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Actually, I think it did in the past, didn't it? Department heads also? Because they're non-union.
I do know the non-union employees were added, I guess, because those are basically the only non-union employees we've had, isn't it?
Yeah, the non-bargaining unit.
Right,
Yeah, deputy auditor, police clerk, and would be.
now does that go for
Department
like
heads.
council clerk and mayor's court clerk and all those other people, or no?
I don't know about that.
Council can raise the rates of those positions.
Yeah, I don't think it does clerk automatically without council action. I don't know if it's affected by that.
Those would
Because
have
the
to
clerk
be,
really doesn't work for the city, she works for council, correct?
Correct.
She works, so she's different.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah, she works directly for council. Mayor's court clerk works directly for the court.
I don't think they're in that list. I think they would have to be separate.
Yeah, I was just asking.
So are you saying we need an ordinance for this or something?
You would.
if council desired to match
Because-
the union increase, then yes.
I ran into an old email, which obviously I'm not going to look for right now, but I had asked for that, from our city attorney, I think it was 2 years ago when we had these, whenever the last union contract, and he said it was just put in the budget, we didn't need to do that. I will look for the email later, I don't
For
want to do it
this
right
year?
now.
For this year?
No,
No,
this
2
was a
years
while
ago.
back.
Oh, okay.
I can't imagine
Because it was
anyone-
actually something a previous
I
lady
can't,
had asked me to ask, so I did,
Yeah.
and he said we didn't need it.
Well, it may be, the numbers may have been
It was
already
2%.
appropriated in, those line items in the budget.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
But we actually have to authorize the actual pay, their pay doesn't automatically increase. We actually have to authorize that increase, yeah.
yeah, I think,
Because for Taylor to be able to write the check at a higher amount, we have to give that authorization to do so. So it may be already, the numbers may be in the budget, but we have to give the authorization to do so. And we've done that in the past, so.
my reading of the charter, I mean, I don't know what the exact phrase is that council sets all pay rates and compensation at City Hall.
Correct.
So I would be uncomfortable changing it without.
Yeah, you can't make it.
Well, I'd also like to add in there that I think the chief of police needs to be brought up to at least where the salary of the old police chief was, because let's face it, he's doing twice the work. So he should at least get the I think it was a grade 2, I think. But-
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 3 steps in there for.
Yes, I think, so the old police chief was at second stage.
He was at
Step 3.
He was at the highest.
Was he? I just,
So what's the reason they started different?
so
They're
you have,
merit-based raises, right?
Oh,
yeah, I don't know why he got pushed up so damn quick.
So the ordinance, because we had to look up for this for some other non-pay reason, we had to look this ordinance up, and the city manager's allowed at 1 year and 2 years to increase based off a merit performance review of those department heads, which at the time Chuck did for Mr. Johnson.
I'm not gonna be quiet about that. Crap is crap. I would like to see our current chief, because he's turned the city around as far as cutting the drugs out, the new police department. I just think that chief needs to be brought up to one of the standards that we were paying for less. If that makes sense.
so I have no argument with that whatsoever.
Okay.
But why,
Carla's with me.
but I'm not done.
There's a but.
Should
There is
stop
a
right
but.
there.
There's a comma and a but.
There is a comment about, I guess I just, and it's done past, but I don't understand all the argument against raising the, part-time firefighters, but yet we're giving out all these other raises.
I was for the part-time firefighters.
Well, the part-time firefighter was against your 2% that you set out significantly. And, it would have been $8,000 increase to the city.
Well, what are all these other raises gonna be? There'll be $8,000.
Well,
I'm just
So
saying
I'm
though,
just gonna do
that
the math real quick because I don't know the answer.
we, and I don't have a problem with it, I really don't. I don't have a problem with the raise, it's just that we seem to be able to give raises to some people, but when we talk about other people, it's just, no.
I'll just
That
add,
was pretty-
I agree. I just add, I agree with you that, you know, there should be an equity. The proposal I have on, that I brought is just to match the contracts at 2%. So my understanding is all the contracts increased by 2%, right?
All the contracts
All the
increased by
contracts,
at least
including-
2%.
So that would increase.
firefighters
Now, I didn't
that
come
aren't in the
prepared,
union, right? Are part-timers in the union?
They are.
They-
No, they are.
just the firefighters, yeah. I didn't come prepared for a larger increase for any department heads as far as the police chief,
No,
but
that's okay, it was just
Yeah.
a notice.
I would say we should have another discussion about that where we can actually see the numbers on that. But today I am prepared to discuss the utility director since that was pushed from the previous meeting, and then but I mean I'll be open to discussing those others later.
Yeah, oh, without a doubt. I just think, I think it's important that we start recognizing, I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I feel very blessed with having Chief Fitch here
Absolutely.
as our police chief. You know, he has actually turned the perception and the law in this town around, him and his new officers, so I just want to show our appreciation. He should be compensated for that.
Is there
I
anything
agree.
we have to do? You said there's stuff.
Oh, no, so,
Oh.
so the pay steps is, again, I don't know how the other one got moved up so quick
yeah, you guys would have to redo.
for the little that he did.
You guys have to probably redo that ordinance or do a new one.
Now
which is-
we would not review.
No, that's from Scott.
That's Scott would be the one that would have to evaluate and review him. So
He said he was gonna take a pay cut and donate it to the K-9 fund.
I like that idea. Second the motion.
When you're talking about tabling it, Corey, I'm sorry, are you tabling the non-union 2% increase too? Or?
No, I'm prepared
Okay.
to talk about that as well.
So I think, all the department heads get that rate. So I was just informed.
Yes, they did.
Do you want some numbers for Jason?
You gave us some before at utility, but yeah, if you want to give it to us here.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
sorry.
remember.
No, go.
Would you guys, I'm sorry, just one last housekeeping before I ask Gary to type this. Would it be backdated like the contracts for the
Correct.
start of the year?
Correct. That's how we've always
Okay.
done. That's what I would propose. So if you guys are on board with that,
Mm-hmm.
that's how we've done it in the past.
Okay.
I didn't want to bring it and you guys be surprised because that's how it's been done. Sorry, didn't mean.
Our,
No, my bad.
our minutes will show something different.
That's,
Point of order.
You can't do that, Dan.
So what I did, do you have any more?
Nope.
Awesome. So what I did when we were doing it's the same paper I gave you guys for the union negotiations. And these numbers are based off 2080, so 2,080 hours for the year, no overtime or anything else, it's just base numbers. And for all 11 union folks, the cost on the old rate, the one last year, not the one you just signed in, would have been $422,746 annually. If you add 2% to that, which I believe you did, just for standard increase, that would make the number $431,201. Now I shared that with you because the next number is the grand total with all the changes that we made. So with increasing the licenses, but making staffing changes as well, $419,910. So that's just in the savings, would cover 431 minus 419, 11,000, 12,000.
So just to back up, make sure I understand this and folks at home. So before we passed the new labor contract, we were at 422.7, you said?
422,746.
746, okay. Then after the 2% increase, we went to 431,200 more.
Correct.
Okay. And so after you have readjusted and shifted people around and, all that stuff within the city, within departments, now we're spending $419,910 in there.
Affirmative.
Perfect. I love it.
price went down.
Money in the pocket.
Well, not
Well,
really.
not quite
So
yet.
so even increasing Jason's,
But-
you would still, but I would ask too, are you guys interested if we do that for Jason, doing a step program similar to what, Harry and Fitch have? It would be legislation, if we just get it in place now, and then what it is for the future, or we can hold off on that, whatever's best for you.
I personally like the steps. It gives incentive, you know, to be able to, you know, aspire to work towards something. I think it gives, you know, it helps from complacency, I think, in folks and leadership. So I think, I mean, I would be on board with that.
Helps with the goal setting.
Yep.
I'm all about incentive work.
Me too.
I'll just look at the other two, steps and figure out what the difference between the two is percentage-wise or whatever, and then I'll, give you that proposal. So I will start it at 52 if that's what you're okay with, and then from there, what step 2 would look like and what step 3 would look like.
So that's based on years, like, I know a lot of steps, like, unions are based on years.
Right, so he's been with us over a year already, but this increase, if we started him at step 1 now, and then a year from, well, the first of the year if we go back, or now, however you guys do it, then he would move up to step 2, just like Fitch. So without any change, and it's merit-based too, so it'd be the exact same parameters. If he's not performing, you know, just like the police chief or whatever, and the fire chief, you know, then that would not be an option.
You can't even put the fire chief in the same room with them boys.
It's shenanigans.
Now, hey, let me tell you something, I love you some fish, but Barbara's the deal.
So the, Jason's numbers now,
47.
and so we're looking at moving him to
52.
Correct.
We're still saving money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw it. It's a bat.
My lights turned on in my office, and I'm just wondering who's over
Well,
there.
every time I look at Carla, I notice a flicker back there. I
Yeah,
do.
My lights turned on. I
Yeah,
don't know what's going on.
I was like, and I keep looking back.
Somebody's hiding in the auditor's office.
Hmm.
Might wanna go see who that is.
I'm kind of wondering if I should.
Does a
So,
certain person ever have keys over there?
Huh?
A certain person ever have keys over there?
Oh, I know.
All right, very good.
do you have any more questions for?
So are we moving forward with Jason's thing then?
And
5,000,
this
yeah.
is gonna move forward with the new, title as well for him.
I would like to, if that's,
And then, do we have a new job description?
I can make that, that's not a problem.
So
I think
guess-
he needs to make sure he knows what he's
Absolutely.
responsible for, so.
So what, you're calling it service director now?
I would like to, yes. He, essentially is over all of those service, you
Based
know.
on your chart from the utility.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna bring this to council for Monday. For the ordinance and then a part of appropriation for the raise.
I don't even think you need an appropriation for the rates, because we have more than enough in there.
No, but I think what you need is you need the legislation changing the name of his position,
With a
which actually allows
With the
them to
pay
give
code,
him more money.
description.
In the pay scale,
In the pay
the
scale.
steps.
Yes, correct.
So if that's all in the ordinance, then that would be retroactive.
Everybody else, we've been going back to January 1st, but that's your call.
Actually, it could all
We always
be,
do that, haven't we?
we'll make sure to suggest to Hunter, just so you guys don't have to sit through them, but all these pay and ordinances can all be the same ordinance, as long as it says the position and
Correct.
the new pay
I
rate,
agree.
or if it says the new position and the new pay scale, for example. So we actually could combine all these, really.
And just read one instead of reading like 6, you mean?
Uh-huh. Well, yes, two, right? You have to create the position and then all the pay
Well,
rates would be, yeah.
So do you wanna wait on the police chief or do you wanna add the step for him? Because, I mean, if they go to the 12s, that's gonna say.
That's a big if. They need to do that already.
We're just waiting on a signed contract. It's currently, the ball's in their court. I expect to get a draft back probably tomorrow or maybe the next day at the latest. And and if all is well, we'll have it to you guys Monday night for approval.
Why don't we talk about, chief at the next meeting,
Okay.
only because we haven't, can we bring all his numbers together on that one then?
Yeah.
Next one, and then we'll have that.
And have you, I forgot to ask, have you done like a yearly review on
Started them,
Jason?
absolutely.
We should probably did that first, but
I owe Fitch one, and I also owe Harry one.
maybe before we do maybe you could bring those next time.
Also,
do the
before we
chief.
discuss,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
So you want their annual reviews before? Okay,
Or at least Chief Fitch's, since we're talking about his salary.
that'll be one line.
Awesome.
That's not considered a review, that's a statement.
I am. Third.
Well done, Carla.
Okay.
She drives a white Chrysler here, chief.
Hey now,
Oh.
that's like putting people's,
You're not
where they
direct
live
city
on there.
employees.
I have only one, before we bring up that radio show, I will only bring up one more thing, which is the income tax split. The current split is 95.5, as you folks know. The budget is currently budgeted at 95.5 for the whole year. And due to the general fund appropriation last meeting, you know, we're already talking about how we're gonna be moving around the edges to make this year balance out. So with the split expiring March 31st, I have the suggestion on the table for you guys that you extend it through the end of the year. I believe that Scott's plans to pay off the debts from the capital improvement fund actually alleviate almost all of the pressure. The yearly payments from the capital improvement fund will be almost gone, and they'll be ready. The fund will be basically for you guys to, well, to rethink how you want to use it moving forward, right? So instead of being tied to 20-year debts, you're now going to have a fund where you can say, okay, what are we going to do with this from now on?
But don't say spend it.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to recraft it.
What did you say, emergency fund?
No, I didn't say that.
Piggyback would be nice.
So I did want to bring that forward.
So I would like to leave that, or change that back to 90/10.
Okay.
I believe we need to bring
I
up
think
the
it was
capital
at
improvement.
85-15, so,
It was,
yeah.
but I'm happy with 90/10.
well, yeah, I agree, 90-10 is good.
I mean, if you want 85/15, I mean, it always says, I don't know how long this payment is for, but it says annual payment, from the capital improvement, 93,000, and that's just one thing. I don't know what else comes out of there, so I think we really need to bring that up part of the.
That's gotta be the either the water plant or the sewer plant.
But
What are
that's,
we talking about? 93,000.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
know. What was that? Do you know what that was?
Was that?
It was from you, I don't.
Oh, those are the amounts. Are you talking about the amounts that the city manager wanted to pay off from that fund?
No, this is what we owe annually.
this is an email from last year,
Okay.
April of last year.
Is this the
Street
yearly
department
payments?
takes payments, 29,550, capital improvement, debt payments, 93,180.
Oh, okay.
So that might be a couple payments in there, I don't know.
Yes.
Uh,
That would be
water-
the sewer back truck, the fire chief truck.
But still, it comes out
Jefferson
annually,
Street.
and then you don't know what might come up, like all these water valves, which I know you say should come out of the proprietary funds, but you don't know what's gonna come up, and it just happens, that's why it's called unexpected.
Well, but I think the plan though is based on, our discussion we had, in another meeting was potentially, with some windfall monies that we may use, to pay off those debts, so those payments
I
would be
remember that
eliminated.
discussion.
So, and if we eliminate those, then those payments wouldn't come out of capital improvement anymore. And then that's where he's saying that the 5% would probably hold, the fund.
I just think we need a bigger balance, I think we need a capital improvement fund.
The question I have though, Taylor, would be, if you were to move it back from 95.5 to 90.10, what is that 5% gonna look like for the general fund by the year end?
It's going to be about 76,000 that you'd have to find room for.
But we did bring that up at the beginning, that we really wanted to bring it back. And I mean, so you was aware of that in the beginning, that's what some of us, wanted, and then some people were hoping to keep it 95.5. So going ahead with it, thinking everyone would just agree to leave it that way.
Well, I think so. There's a couple points to be made there. One is, I do believe strongly that expenses from, like, say, the water fund should come out of water, and that capital shouldn't be used as a grab bag. It should be used as like a 10-year planning kind of fund. It pays for things that last 5 to 10 years, right? So it should be planned out that far. And so, in my mind, there should never be an emergency out of that fund, because the emergency would come out of wherever it's from. For example, street funds for a street emergency.
Unless that's empty.
Well, it's not, fortunately.
Well, I
Make my
know.
blood pressure go up thinking about it, but I don't disagree. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I would ask council to at least consider something in the middle. So instead of 95.5 or 90.10, something like 97.5 or 92.5 or 7.5 would be right in the middle between those two. I don't have anything against the capital improvement fund. I'm just trying to add up the numbers and think about everything you take away from the general fund takes away from staff, from our two largest departments. Or, for example, I mean, you guys come out of it just a small amount. Scott and I come out of it, but the vast majority is 20-some police and firefighters. And so it's a risky fund to, in my opinion, to take
It
revenues
is,
from.
but I mean, it used to be the 85-15, and we did that for 1 year, and now we're saying we have all this money, when really, the only reason we have it is because we changed where it's going. It's not like we have more money, it's we have more in the general fund.
Well, I think we've changed a lot of procedures too, so
Well, true, but,
we've been saving a lot of money on different procedures and the way we do things.
true,
Well,
I just meant though.
you guys have been doing a nice job with the budget too. I mean, these
Yeah.
numbers here are reflecting, how we took a very large expense, on an annual basis, even with an increase in a salary, a 2% increase to non-bargaining unit, and then a individual, increase on someone's level, and then we're still saving money. That's great. So I'm not opposed to Carla's suggestion on maybe switching that up a little bit, to kind of help build that capital improvement. I mean, because if you guys continue to manage the way you have managed, if income taxes are roughly the same as what they were last year, if real estate taxes are roughly what they were last year, it should be an increase. Most of mine went up this year, property taxes. So, if there's a slight increase in those two, that's money that's going to end up in the general fund, and maybe, offset that 72,000 that you're potentially concerned about. So
There's I mean, the only thing I would ask is, I'm just trying to think, there's just not a lot of resources for the general fund outside of the income tax. So the thing I would ask from the finance committee is, well, one, I would still ask to do maybe something in the middle between 5 and 10. But two, just because it's going to be easier to create savings of 35,000 instead of 70-some thousand, for one. But two, I would ask.
we're not here for easy.
I know. Well, when
anything worthwhile,
when it comes to
pain.
those safety departments, it's kind of like the water plant. We don't take a lot of chances, right? And so even though we're going to chance it that things like the stimulus bill will keep the economy good, it's not good practice, right? We want to make sure we know our plan and we have a plan B. So I guess I would just ask for openness too when the COVID monies come in for something like revenue replacement for the general fund, but that would only buy us, it's a one-time fund for money. So we have a long-term problem that we have to figure out somehow.
And that's true, but like I said, I mean, you can see where I'm coming from. We can't really say we have more. We'd actually just kind of move the money from from capital, or the percent from capital improvement to general. So
in a way, I mean, I don't disagree with you. We also move the expenses too, right? So the capital improvement fund will be far less
hopefully
expended
in the
from
future,
this year than in years past.
Well, I mean, I'm open to that too. What do you think? 92, 92.8? What do you think?
I like round numbers, so.
I do too. I don't want a half.
So I'm still at 10.8 or 10.9.
10.90? Okay. That's kind
just-
of what I wanted
I
to.
think, you know, see how it works out. So
Yeah,
it starts-
nothing has to be, it can always be adjusted.
Yeah, so I mean, if it looks like we need to adjust it at a later date, I think we just need to go back to 9/10 and see where we're at.
Because I mean, honestly, it was just to be for a short, for that 1 year. And then we was gonna put it back.
Yeah, it's because it's easier to keep taking from. And
Yeah, I don't disagree. Hopefully, we just as a committee and as us administrators, I know Scott hasn't said much, but I know it's definitely, in my opinion, when we go looking for how to do something for a department, it's the general fund's far more effective than the capital improvement, and that's where we pay everybody from.
no, it just makes it way too easy to say.
I was gonna say, we don't want to be talking about
Path of least resistance.
we don't want self-inflicted wounds where at the end of the year we're talking about we've got to cut one fund while the economy's booming because the virus ended, and we want to put ourselves in a strong position is my main concern.
I think we will. I think we've made the right decisions for the future of the city and,
And I think
with the way
income's
things are.
gonna start coming up anyways. So,
You know,
I
as,
really do.
as, you know, you get that gate valve machine in there and, you know, we start saving a little bit of money here, we got 5,000 here, 5,000 there, it just starts to add up. So you start getting rid of some of the water loss. You know, it'll eventually fix itself and start being healthy.
And we might make money on the pool.
What?
Optimistic.
Yes.
You have to be optimistic, Frank.
Are we
You
gonna talk
know,
about that?
either
next
you're
week?
on the island or you're over here in the mainland. So we try to reel them all in.
All land masses are islands, at certain points.
So what are you proposing?
90/10.
I'm good with that. It really doesn't matter.
Worst case, we just go back and have to make sure.
Oh my God, are we on a sinking ship over there, gentlemen?
No, just making sure the life raft's in place.
So,
I got a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, guys.
Okay.
so the pressure's now on you guys to figure out and to make adjustments to make sure that we can make that happen, so.
Yes.
What are you looking at me?
I was just thinking about selling rides on the fire truck.
Hey, I
Speaking of
tried
selling,
once
have
to
we
say
gotten-
we could do calendars, but
Speaking of-
Harry said no.
Speaking of selling,
Firefighter, please.
Not
calendar.
Chris Jones and his dog.
Apparently Scott Fitch and Chris Jones too, but
Well, maybe we could ask again. Harry didn't like the idea.
did you, never mind. Okay. So, alright. You brought up the pool.
well, yeah, I just thought
It's on my list.
if I could, so we turned the pump over to a couple local charities and it looks like they're gonna fund it. I haven't got the final word yet back, but at least some portion of it. That's $7,000 for the pump and motor, which is extremely generous of those folks. Still not completely done, but in process. With that being said, we knew we had a busted freezer down there, which is probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000, but there was no major improvements to do that I'm aware of, because we did all the concrete last year. The pool liner does need some work this year, touch up. That is something I think that we need to consider in the future. I know, at one time you were talking about a rec levy. I'm not real sure how that works, but that pool liner is going to be very expensive. We should get it in our radar for probably the next 3 to 4 years. And I can work on getting a quote too if you guys would like that information.
I don't know about up here or not, because we up here are pools, and the water table's not as high. I know in Florida, our site's a big thing, but then again, they're filled with water year round. And if you do have your pool down in Florida, they will float right on the ground.
Well, I'm worried the pool's leaking too, if I'm being dead honest with you. When we turned it
I'm
off,
sure it is.
it dropped 2 feet. But we're putting a meter on it this year because that's part of our water loss as well. So we're going to account for that water now. Also, we'll be counting for bulk water sales back here as soon as the meter's up and going. But back to the pool, it looks like everything's opening back up, especially by the time we get to the pool. So it does not look like the same protocol is going to be in place as far as the 2 different times, and then also limited on numbers, which even back when they were busy before COVID, they still didn't hit the max numbers that the pool majors out to be. So the big question comes down to pricing, you know, you guys set that price. Do you want to do passes or no passes, or daily fee versus however you guys
Did we make money with the passes?
No, the people love them. But they love them because they did better than we did.
Well, you gotta have some kind of deal for coming every day. I mean, they probably buy something to eat. Maybe.
I don't know about that, but I mean, I agree. I mean, I feel like you kind of need to give some sort of benefit for, you know, maybe recurrence, but I don't know. I think that, have we already started interviewing and stuff like that for full staff?
No, I've been in contact with so Leslie's a part-time employee, so she's still, you know, part-time as needed, and I've been in contact with her. She hasn't started the process on her side yet with anything, and that probably won't start until in the April, beginning of May. She just needs well, if we open on Memorial Day, that's 3 weeks of prep for her. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure all she needs to do, well, not all, it's a lot, but the CPR and then the lifeguard training.
So we can send this on to the next meeting then, the prices.
Yeah, I think maybe if you could have a discussion with her.
Or have her come to the meeting,
Oh,
discuss it?
Yeah, that's true.
To have her discuss fees, you know, get her input on it as well. I think that, I'm kind of thinking at this point, you kind of revert back to the format that we had 2 years ago. And then, I mean, if you need to adjust prices, you adjust prices. But I mean, I think that instead of the 2-time split, you kind of go back to the old model, if you will, in terms of, you know, fee. So yeah, let's have that discussion at the next one. Because that way we can kind of go through that in depth.
Please invite her. So, 'cause I think one time we had a meeting and she wasn't here for that, but we were changing all the prices at the reading of the ordinance.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So I'd like to do this in the committee if possible.
And I'd like
I
to
think
have,
though, I think too, I don't think Scott said it yet, but so I'll be the bad cop on this one, but the old model works okay. I just think council needs to, it works okay with the right prices, right? So I don't think the passes have to increase a huge amount, but just getting them comparable to nearby areas for pools that do break even probably is necessary.
Yeah.
well, I think we actually have made money on our pool after we've taken out.
Sticky fingers?
For operating it, but for repairs, we don't put anything back for repairs, so those end up sinking. Unintended.
That's why I wanted to get on your guys' radar about we need to start saving for liner.
Yeah, start putting a little bit. We have those numbers, like, again, I don't know,
I can get a quote just so we have a starting point.
and I don't know if they do motorcycle up here or not, but that's pretty, it's a concrete product, it's a waterproofing product. But you don't have to deal with liners and stuff.
Let's see what options we got.
Okay, so next thing we seem to both have it on here, is the city manager salary contract.
Yeah, I just asked Taylor if he would have that kind of figured out in the budget, based on when we have our sit down with Scott and evaluate him. I mean, it's all contingent on that. I mean, I'm not proposing we raise anything until we get to that point. We need to.
Do we have that scheduled?
Well, so, Mr. President was supposed to send out an email to have the evaluations at our first meeting of April.
So yeah.
So maybe Mr. Vice President can send that out?
Yeah.
The first meeting in April, is that
What would we do without you, Mr. Sherman?
Oh, I'm sure you guys come up with a lot of things.
okay, so that will be later.
Yeah, I just want that on the radar of the officer,
Mhm.
so he's aware of.
Okay. And Scott, we may have did this and it just kind of skipped by me somehow. I know you've done some of this tree list, but honestly, I couldn't really read it. And I know if we need to like work on adding some more, or do you have that taken care of, or where that is right now?
So with the trees, we've done everything we can. We took Nan's list, and I can get the updated list from Jason, because he has a list just like you did, that we just made copies of Nan's. We did everything that she labeled we could do, and then we looked at stuff that, to see if there's other things we could do, and we took care of those. So the only thing left is what is needed for professionals.
So do we need to, is it already taken care of in the budget? Is there anything we need to do tonight?
I don't remember.
I
I
don't know,
I forget.
if I'm being honest, I don't know if there's a good proposal for tonight. The, council, or at least council's gonna have to dictate where tree money's gonna come from, so I know we've had the conversation multiple times, and we have several things at our disposal. The two obvious ones are general fund or recreation and parks. The ones that need justification are water and street, so if they're causing water or street issues. The problem is, we just had a conversation about the rec fund not having enough money. And we just cut from the general fund, and
That's where I'm going with it.
and then not all of the trees on the list handle or cause water and street issues.
Some do
So
have
fall under
street though.
streets.
Typically,
If sidewalks fall under streets, that should be helpful on some of
Yeah,
them.
a lot
Hey,
of,
so, Scott, just on your radar, I'd be interested in seeing a price for a chipper and a stump grinder that goes on the Bobcat.
chipper was 14,000, but last year, whatever, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, we got a picture of it.
Well,
It's extremely labor intensive.
huh?
It is extremely labor intensive.
Well, a chipper,
Yes.
no, stump grinder.
That is one man job, and the Bobcat, which if we put it on the Bobcat, it'd be significantly stronger than the one we rented.
Right.
But the chipper, wasn't we gonna save a lot by
Yeah,
not
so,
taking all the stuff away and making mulch?
but Harry likes sitting out there all night with the bonfire in the back.
We do have the option of hauling it to the junkyard as well. I believe they have green space. Actually, you know what? I have to check with our new hauler, because I know he does compost.
Right.
So I could maybe get some rates from him. Maybe if we got a green dumpster here where citizens could bring their, their leaves and twigs and all that other stuff. And it'd also be nice for us to put something in there as well, because the guys have been going crazy. Right now, they're knocking down trees everywhere where the new sewer plant's going. We gotta get the trees done before the bats come in.
That's why
Literally.
they was always looking for a chipper. It's been like 3 years now. They've been requesting, well, the guys from the, used to be street.
There's a truck and a chipper up in Logan for sale.
I don't think there's anybody back there now that wants a chipper. They might have in the past. I don't know about now.
Well, yeah, now a little bit more.
Yeah, it is labor intensive. I do agree.
So one of the, not that it, one of the utility tractor that we're putting on the USDA grant that we're applying for, that has a mulcher on the front of it and can when we had the demo, it was plowing over 3-inch trees and cutting them up. So that will be an option we have, that we can mulch up stuff with that machine. Just as an option, but I really would like to talk to Bruce about the green dumpster, because I think that might be something really nice for the city to do. Provide that, and they just come dump it whenever it's full.
Where would we put that?
We could put it a couple places, wherever you guys decide. I mean, I don't know if you guys came to a conclusion about putting the recycle dumpsters at Poly or not.
Oh, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, we're gonna try it.
We can always move it.
I remember half-half, so
Hey,
that's why I don't remember.
Bye-bye. Needs to go away. Bye-bye.
Those need to go away.
But all you're doing is taking them down to Pollock.
For
Just two of 'em.
trial. You can always move it.
I think the green dumpster we could, because of the way it's set up in the back. So the guys have moved all the dirt around back there for the most part. So we're building essentially dirt walls to close it, so you don't see it from the road. You don't see it from the train and everything else. We're not there yet, but we do have areas where we could put a green dumpster in the middle, and it'd be concealed. That way, hopefully it only gets done during the day when people are here. Yeah, that green waste added to it. And it'd be more convenient for our folks too.
So anyone in the city could put stuff in it, you mean?
I don't know if I want citizens.
I would- Whatever you guys decide. I'd do it. as a citizens group.
Glad she's not biased or opinionated. Okay, so if you could, give maybe an updated list on the trees.
Yep.
Find out about the green dumpster
One is a little darker, please.
and,
I'll do my best. You know,
one in an email preferably.
Jason, put it in an email.
Oh, that frees you up. So we're gonna start doing the 2 people things.
When do you guys want to start that?
I
Thank
guess
you.
we just,
Explain.
People.
like the fire chief and the utility guy, Jason, doing their updates.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, yes, yes.
okay.
So our next meeting.
5
so-
minutes, 8 slides.
So that would be,
5 minutes.
that, our next update would be the chief and Jason.
If there's 2, they get 10 minutes.
5 minutes each, correct?
Yeah.
Well, and that 5
Well,
minutes doesn't include what you asked them,
That's, I
so
was gonna say, that's, yeah,
that's their time, 5 minutes, and then you guys have them as long as you want.
and we'll try to make it, we will try to make it,
What do you mean? No, storytelling is over.
Did we have any, I can't see, did we have any questions we
I
need to
don't think
answer?
so. Nope. Just a statement from Michael Mullane.
You guys will see an ordinance, probably Monday that Mr. Hunter and I worked on today. I just want to give you a heads up. It's bringing, how do I explain this? It's bringing OPER's expectations of the employees into actual code. It seems our stuff on file with OPER's, I worked with them to discover a few months ago, were quite dated. It's a post-tax account. So Corey probably knows right away what that means. Post-tax, it's more like a Roth IRA than a traditional IRA, I guess is the simple explanation. All the employees expect pre-tax, so we're just gonna get that paperwork done correctly, and Gary Hunter will explain it too. So I just didn't want you to be surprised when you see some money stuff come up.
You know, this just
But it
came to
changes no
mind.
money for anyone, it's just how their accounts are handled.
Just came to mind. Have we heard anything about the census yet?
Not a thing. I looked this weekend too. I was encouraged that Ohio reported 99% enumeration, sorry, I spoke too soon. 99% of people enumerated who did not respond voluntarily. So in other words, the census had the people that didn't answer the census, and they believed they found 99% of them in the state of Ohio. I'm hoping they also found them here because we'll need every last one.
Oh, yeah.
Because we need that.
I did find that on a little Excel on their website, so. But the results are, due to pandemic, it's by far probably the worst census the U.S. has ever carried out, and who knows when we'll know.
So when do they
Could be next
change
year,
the
actually.
funding? I mean, when does that change? Like, if
Well-
they don't know the answer yet.
They won't be able to change it until they release the results, so. Yeah, they're talking about whole elections next year will be based off the old districts when everyone expected them to be the new ones after the census. So, yeah, they have a whole mess on their hands. I'm glad I don't work for the census.
Okay, what else we got?
I have a quick question came to mind. Deputy auditor, former deputy auditor, she was arraigned,
Arrested.
arrested, okay,
And arraigned.
and arraigned, okay. So
Neighbor, right over there.
are
She's a
we,
resident up on the hill right now.
are we in position for the city in position to go after restitution on anything yet?
That's our sentencing date when the files are released.
So nothing has been released yet?
Because this is all new stuff in addition to
Yeah, this is all
what the
new
old
charges.
stuff was.
This is adding about 42,000 in additional theft through income tax refunds, fake refunds, dating way back to 2013 and 14. Allegedly, these ones are alleged again. So the ones that the convictions is done, I think all we need to submit to the bonds is the bond company is the auditor's final report on those ones.
Okay. And do we wait until the second part, or do we do the first one, and then do we go back after the second one?
It's probably going to be dictated by the bond company. They'll probably take them in parts, meaning they'll take whatever they can as soon as possible.
Right.
Or I'm going to assume.
I have no
If I was them, I'd want it as soon as we had it so they could start working on it.
Can we find that out? Because I would like, I want to make sure that we're ready to move forward quickly and,
What is the bond amount? 'Cause do we have both of them or just the one?
Just one. You mean for the former auditor?
I feel
It
like
was-
there should be one on there too.
Yeah, it was just the former auditor that was bonded it. We, Mr. Hunter's been taking the lead on the bonding, issue. If council would like to civilly sue for anything the bonding company won't pay for, which, to be frank about expectations, they won't wanna pay for all of it.
Well, I bet you they're gonna wanna settle.
Uh-huh. Well, I just don't think it's not gonna get get out of jail free.
Oh, no, it's not.
For us, I mean, so I just mean if council's position is they wanna sue for property or anything, you probably wanna start working on it, yeah,
All right.
as far as the attorney.
So can we ask Mr. Hunter for an executive session and a strategy for that then?
Yep. I do believe there's a request on the table from the prosecutor to get whatever is in the OPERS account, but again, none of the numbers add up to what was lost, so.
Yeah, I think what froze our retirement, no froze and all that stuff.
I wish it was a lot more, that OPERS account, but.
I'm surprised she didn't pad that number.
Okay, I don't have anything else, I don't believe.
Since we're talking about trees, do you want the latest hydrant list as well, electronic?
That'd be great.
Yeah, I was well, we're gonna have to address that sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, they're all in work for the most part now. And in the next, we have hydrants coming to us in the grant this summer, materials wise. And, especially if we're able to get that valve machine, we can actually get after more hydrants quicker. Because that's a lot of our issue.
Yeah, keep it shut down.
All right. Good meeting.
Oh, quite done,
Scott, Taylor,
He's quite done.
quite done. My bed's calling me.
we will adjourn this meeting at 8:45.